Hello, Tiger families, and welcome to our Tiger Family Talks webinar. I am so excited to see everyone joining us via Facebook Live and Zoom. So thank you to everyone joining us on every platform tonight. We are so excited that you decided to join us because this is really helpful content that we want to proactively make sure you're aware of so your Tiger is set and ready for spring course scheduling. So my name is Lindsay McCrory, and I have the pleasure of serving as the manager of Parent and Family programs. Our office is 100% dedicated to you, our Tiger families. So if you've joined us before for a Tiger Family Talks, then you know exactly what we're about. We want to give you information, resources throughout the semester to help support your Tiger's success. So welcome back. You've heard these spiels before, but really we are here. We want to see your student thrive at LSU and just absolutely love their experience. If this is your first Tiger Family Talks, then welcome. You can check out recordings of all of our past webinars on our website, which we'll go over at the end of this session. So one more time, I know some people are still joining us. I want to say hi, hello to everyone on Facebook and Zoom. I want to point out a couple of features. So the first one is the chat feature. So if you're using Zoom right now, then you can put in the chat, where you're from. You can introduce yourself, let others know who you are. Once again, I'm Lindsay. I am from Covington, Louisiana. So I am a local Louisiana girl, and I'm also an LSU alum. So if you want to put in the chat, I'd love to see if we have any alums joining us. The chat is a great place to put a quick emoji or, just say if you really like something that the speakers are talking about. The Q&A feature, though, on Zoom is what we want you to use when you have a specific question for any of our presenters. So we'd love if you have a question for Andrea Jones, who will be presenting from University College Center for Freshman Year, also known as UCFY, or we'll also have a panel with some current students. If you have any questions for them as they are talking, just go ahead and put those in the Q&A if you are using Zoom. And then for our Facebook users, go ahead and you can put any of your questions, comments, however you're feeling on Facebook in the comment section, and we'll incorporate those as well. So everybody's introducing themselves. So good to see it. I love it. Yeah, it looks like we have people coming from all over. Thank y'all so much. Hi, Dana, see you. You have Georgia, Florida, California. We're coming from all over. I love it. I also love, Robert, I just saw your message about Beach Boys. We had some good music playing before we got started tonight. We have Washington, D.C., Texas. Awesome, y'all. Good deal. Australia. Wow, and thank you. Okay, so we are going to jump right in. We have people coming from all over. Thank y'all so much for joining us. So tonight's session, as I mentioned, is all about spring course scheduling. We have a couple of poll questions that we want to ask you just to get everyone started. And so some people are already saying this in the chat, but we're going to start our first poll question. So if you are using Zoom, you're going to see the question, the poll actually pop up on your screen. But if you're using Facebook, we put the question on the PowerPoint right there that you'll see. So first question, what classification is your Tiger? Freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior? All right, the freshmen are holding strong right now. We're up to 42 freshmen. Oop, one sophomore. Hi, sophomore family. All right, I think we've got everybody locked in, it looks like, on Zoom right now. So almost all of you are freshmen. Thank you. We can share those results. Perfect. We have two sophomores, so thank y'all so much. All right, our next question is, we'll advance to that one. If your Tiger is a freshman, so for all 46 of you that answered that one, are they enrolled in the University College Center for Freshman Year this semester, so UCFY? The other options would be if they are in the College of Agriculture, if they are in Music and Dramatic Arts, and then Andrea, she's in the background, I think the College of Art and Design is the third one. So if your student is a freshman and they are in College of Ag or Art and Design or Music and Dramatic Arts, then your answer is no. But for everybody else, all the other colleges, your answer should be yes. All right. Looks like they are almost locked in, so we'll go ahead and we'll share those results. Awesome. Okay, so, and if you don't know, that is perfectly fine. Andrea will go over that information during her presentation, so y'all just stay tuned. Thank y'all so much for sharing. We are going to end the poll, and we are excited, right, as I mentioned, to talk about spring course scheduling. So if you look at the academic calendar, we'll also be sending out our October family newsletter tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. You're going to get all the important academic upcoming dates for the rest of the fall semester. And so for our students, it's all based on their hours that they have accumulated of when they actually schedule. And Andrea is going to go over this in her presentation. So some of your students will be starting to schedule at the end of October, all the way until midway through November. But it's a great time for them to be thinking about this. How do they prepare to stay on track with their schedule and make sure they're taking the right courses for the spring semester? So I am thrilled, as I mentioned, to have Andrea joining us from UCFY. After she presents, we're going to have a panel of some current students to share their perspective and help, give you lots of great information and help answer your questions. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Andrea Jones. She is the Assistant Vice Provost and Executive Director for the University College.
Okay, I hope everybody can see that okay. Thank you so much for having me here. It's so great that you guys could join us this evening. And regardless of what college your student is in, we'll be able to cover the information that'll be helpful, regardless if they're in the Center for Freshman Year or if they're in another college. They should find this information really helpful as they prepare for spring scheduling, which is right upon us. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have a lot to cover. It may seem as if I'm talking rather quickly, but there's just so much great information I want to share with you tonight. So let's talk about what it looks like to actually do the scheduling and advising as we move into this time period. Okay, there we go. Got my slides working. Okay, so as was mentioned, I do work in the Center for Freshman Year, and we have a team of academic counselors available to assist students, and we're happy to help support them throughout their freshman year. Every unit on campus has an advising team available for students to help them navigate the onboarding to campus, of course, right out of high school, and then, of course, through graduation. This is my great team of counselors that I have the pleasure of working with every day. Okay, so let's talk about scheduling for the spring semester. What we're going to cover in this presentation, again, a lot of different information that I hope you'll find very, very helpful as you share it with your students. So actually, how to read the various tools that we have that can help someone select their schedule and the courses they're going to take next semester. There are different varieties of things that can be really helpful through that process. How to actually read a degree audit, which is the tool we use to select courses, determine what has already been taken and what a student is currently enrolled in. We're going to also look at CATS requirements, which are deemed critical in a given semester. Depending on the student's major, those courses are determined from that particular major. We'll look at general education requirements, navigating the course offerings, and actually determine which courses to schedule for this spring semester and how to schedule on MyLSU. So incoming freshmen this year, their schedules were built for them through the onboarding process to LSU. But students are going to have the opportunity to actually schedule their classes on MyLSU. So this information should be really helpful to them as they prepare for that process. Okay, so let's talk about the various tools that are available to students, a recommended path, where that can be found, an 8-semester plan, or a flow chart. Okay, so if someone can access the catalog, they can do that by going to catalogs.lsu.edu. When they go there, freshmen, the majority of people here are freshmen, so they're going to be in the 2021-2022 general catalog. That is basically the catalog they entered the institution under, and that typically is the catalog they'll stay with until they graduate, which has all the requirements for their degree and policies and a variety of things like that in it. Now, through this process, they can actually look up their major requirements. Depending on what their major is, they'll go to the college that their major is housed under. So if someone's doing engineering, for example, they would go to that, or if they're doing sciences, they would go to the College of Science and click on that. that'll actually bring them to the various departments and curricula offered within that college. And then from there, they would click on the department they're interested in for their major, and actually then the major that they're pursuing. So in this case, maybe biological sciences. When that is pulled up, a student will actually be able to see the courses that are deemed critical every semester through semester 5. Those are the courses that should be scheduled in the semester indicated. And then at the end of each semester, they'll be checking for the GPA for that particular semester. You'll notice there's a semester 1 listed there. Those are the suggested courses a student should take in semester 1, which would be the fall of 2021 in this case. So as students plan for the spring, typically what they'll look at is the semester 2 requirements, and if there's anything in semester 1 they still need to take, because again, this is a suggested path. What is required is meeting those critical requirements the semester that they are indicated. This is what we call an 8-semester plan, and these are something that we've created to share with students. It's a one-page plan that actually details all 4 years of the required courses. So we have these created for students pursuing business majors, human sciences and education, or mass communication majors. So if a student's pursuing this, they can actually request this from our office, and they can email us for that information. We're happy to share it, and we'll use this through the advising process when working with students, but it has everything laid out just in this one-page plan. They can also access it through the catalog like I just showed them. Okay, so engineering students, and that would also include computer science, or if someone's doing construction management, they actually have what's called a flow chart. A flow chart can be accessed by going to lsu.edu/ENG, or even just Googling LSU Engineering flow chart. If they go through the catalog there, they can go to overview, and then they'll click on flow charts. And then from there, a student can choose the flow chart for their indicated major, the major that they're pursuing. Once they indicate and they click on that link, it'll pull up a flow chart, which you can see it details what to take each semester for 8 semesters. So a student would use this if they're doing, computer science and engineering curriculum or construction management, and they'll pick the proper one for their major, and it helps detail what courses they need each semester for their major. As mentioned earlier, there are critical requirements in every major at LSU, and these are broken down by semesters. And so a student in semester 1 would want to take, in this scenario, English 1001 and Chemistry 1201 if they're a biological sciences major in the fall of 2021. As they plan for spring, they would want to plan to take the Biology 1201 and Math 1550 in this example. If a student's looking at an 8-semester plan, like I showed, the ones that we create, it would look a little bit differently as indicated right down here. But again, these are important, and this is what students want to schedule around when selecting their spring classes. They want to make sure these critical requirements are satisfied. Where this can be found in the catalog, like I showed earlier, it is broken down by semester. It'll have semester 1 through 8. A student can be planning for semester 2 is what they'll look at, but they also want to look to make sure they satisfy the semester 1 requirements, and they also plan for the semester 2 requirements that they'll be tracked for. And those are going to be indicated, where it indicates the word critical, that shows the classes that they need to plan for this current semester, and then in semester 2 for the spring of 2022. It does list the suggested courses there. Just because a course is listed does not require it to be taken that semester. Again, the critical courses are what is deemed critical in that given semester. The others are suggested, and it's recommended the amount of hours that are listed there. Some students will deviate for that. They might already have credit out of high school through dual enrollment or APIB or CLEP credit. So it does vary by student and their particular circumstances, but this is their guide in terms of selecting their courses for the spring. So if a student is in engineering and they're referencing their flow chart, which is this example here on the left side, it maps out what to take in that given semester, and it gives more details there on how many hours and what grade is needed in a particular course. If they're looking at the 8-semester plan that we've created, it's going to look a little different, but again, it's going to be broken down by semester, the suggested hours, the courses that are critical, and then it indicates what courses to take. So these are the various plans that students can look at to select their courses for the spring semester. When checking for prerequisites, just to kind of mention it, a prerequisite, it actually means that that course is required. Either a student has to have credit in it or be currently enrolled in it to schedule in the next course in the spring semester. So the catalog will often reference a prerequisite, and that's how a student can determine if they meet those requirements or not, whether or not they're enrolled in the course currently or have credit previously earned. A co-requisite means that a student can take the class simultaneously. So they can be enrolled in one class while simultaneously taking the other class that's deemed a co-requisite. So it's important to understand that terminology so students know if they're meeting the requirements to enroll in a course they're planning for. Now, when looking at prerequisites on an 8th semester plan in this example, it's going to be those courses listed in the brackets. So in this example, if a student needed and wanted to take Accounting 2001, they would need to either be enrolled in Math 1021, which is college algebra, or have credit in it. And if a student does, they'll be eligible to enroll in Accounting 2001 when they schedule for the spring semester. So on a flow chart, it looks a little bit different. The prerequisites, they have different, you look at the flow chart legend, kind of mentioned below, and a solid line means the credit is required before enrolling in the course. So to take Math 1552 in that example, they would need to be enrolled in Math 1550 this fall. And under that assumption, we assume a student's going to successfully complete it so they can enroll in that next course in the spring semester. When looking at a flow chart, the dotted line actually means credit or registration is required, and that's that co-requisite I was talking about. A student can be simultaneously enrolled in Math 1550 in this example and Computer Science 1351. That means they can take them at the same time. So again, these are just ways, same ways to look at it, but a little bit different depending on the resource a student is using to build their schedule for the spring. So let's actually look at what a degree audit would look like. Students have access to this through their MyLSU account. So there's a drop-down menu that they'll access once they log into their account under Student Services. Under that, they can click on Degree Audit. And if their major is declared, they have the major that they want, they can actually just go to that. They can click on View Current Degree Audit, and they can actually see their degree audit, how the courses they've taken apply, what they're enrolled in, and what's actually left for that degree program. Now, if a student's considering changing their major, they also have the option to actually check at a different degree audit for a different major, and they can see how their courses that they've taken apply, what they're enrolled in, what that would look like, and then what other courses they would need if they switch their major. So just know that students can actually do that on their own through MyLSU. All right, so here's what a degree audit actually looks like when they go through MyLSU. They can access lots of information. They can see how many hours a degree is worth, what their required GPA is. They can see how many of their hours actually apply toward the degree program. It's got lots of good information there. The other thing it does, they can actually look at the requirements in a variety of different ways. They can see how their courses they're in progress apply, what isn't met, and what's been completed. So they can look at that through this by clicking on those various areas. It looks like this when they initially open it, but they can actually expand these categories so they can see how their coursework applies. And then actually the information out to the left there actually cues them in on if they have that requirement met, if they're enrolled in it, or if they still need it. So we'll look at that in just a second. So when viewing the degree audit, if they open those categories, the check would indicate that the student has credit in it, and it'll show the course and when they took it and the grade they earned. If it's in progress, it'll have this yellow notation here, and it'll indicate an IP for in progress. And if it has that X, it means the student still needs it. Now, they'll want to use those plans that we were referencing earlier in terms of the flow chart or the 8th semester plan or the catalog to determine when to take the courses. This just tells them if they've satisfied it or not, or if they still need it. All right, so a couple of things. Students who are new to LSU this fall, which I think is most everybody that's here tonight, but for those that are, we are finding that some students still have outstanding work that's not showing on their record. In some respects, it might be we haven't gotten the final information from the College Board for AP, CLEP, and IB work. So it's really important that students determine if that's been submitted to admissions. Sometimes they'll be looking at their coursework and they're like, but my biology's not showing, and they have that credit from high school. So what they have to do is actually contact admissions to get that stuff uploaded and added to their record. Dual enrollment, I see this happen a lot. So students that took college level work while in high school, one thing it's really important to know is we need actually the college transcript to award the college credit. The high school transcript isn't sufficient. So they'll want to actually contact the college where the credit was awarded and have that transcript sent directly to LSU's admissions office. And I have that information right down there so they can make those requests. If they've already made that request and they're still not seeing the work out there, I would have them contact admissions just to see if LSU received their transcript and to see what it would take to get that loaded to their record. That's not something, unfortunately, we can do through our office, but they would have to do it through admissions. Okay, so let's talk about CATS requirements. I did allude to this a little bit, but let's talk about it together. All right, so with CATS requirements, again, these are the critical requirements that are in semesters 1 through 5, where students take the courses that particular major deemed critical, that are important. So a student should enroll in the semester 1 courses for their major. If for some reason a student is not enrolled in that, actually on yesterday, students were notified if they were missing a course that was deemed critical. So we've already reached out, university-wide, students have been reached out to if they're missing a particular course that was deemed critical. And we'll work with students with that process. They've already received an email from the registrar's office and our office, and the same within the other colleges as well. Students have been notified of that and how they can resolve that, because they actually have a hold that needs to get resolved before they can schedule. So we've already reached out to all of our students. They should know if they're in that category. What we're finding is a lot of students still have outstanding credit that they're waiting on final transcripts for, or the APIB or CLEP work from the College Board to be uploaded. So that'll help in this process to get that corrected. If a student is ever off track 2 semesters for not meeting critical requirements, they'll get another hold. And what that requires them to do is to resolve that, schedule properly, and then they'll also have to appeal to the college of their major to see if they can continue in that major. It's important that students meet those critical requirements so they stay on track for their major, or they would have to, they're going to get a hold, and then 2 semesters of being off track, they would have to actually appeal to see about staying in that major if they're not making progress. Okay. All right, so a student can check their CAT status. Now they've been notified as of yesterday about their CAT status. So have a student, if they receive that email, they can check it through this process, go into My LSU, CAT status, the drop-down menu there. It actually tells them what they're missing, if they're missing something. The other thing it does, it also tells them what they need for the next semester. So it's a real easy way. That's what we want students to really focus on when they're scheduling their classes. Make sure they have their CATS requirements satisfied, or critical requirements satisfied from semester 1, and also plan properly to meet the semester 2 requirements in the spring. All right, here's a CATS example. This is from the catalog. It can be found by every degree program that we offer. It does detail the requirements here, and a student, again, wants to schedule the courses that are deemed critical. Okay. Now let's talk about general education. General education, you've probably heard about this from time to time. It's in every degree program at LSU, 39 hours of coursework. 6 hours of it would be English composition, 6 hours of it would be analytical reasoning or math. Again, it depends on the major and what math they would take. A 3-hour art requirement, 9 hours of humanities, 9 hours of natural science, and then 6 hours of social sciences. It really does vary by major. It might even vary by concentration within majors as well. So it does vary. It's important that students are aware that it's not any art necessarily that will count, or any math that'll count. It's very specific to the major. But again, if they're using the tools that they're learning about tonight, they should be in great shape to take the requirements needed for their degree program. All right, so to actually look at general education courses, again, that can be done through the catalog. And they can access it as indicated there. Look at the catalog they're enrolled in. Again, for our incoming students, that's going to be the current catalog 2021-2022. They can view the general education requirements by clicking on that, and then they can actually look at the list of courses that satisfy those requirements. Again, that does vary by major, and it can vary by concentration within majors as well. So it's really important that they look at their degree audit and the other resources in the catalog to help them pick these courses properly. All right, how do we actually pick courses now that we have a general idea of what to look at? Students will have access to a schedule booklet, and they can actually access this from their MyLSU. Scheduled booklets are expected to be available on October 11th, so they're not accessible just yet, but students should be notified once those become available, and they can actually start looking at what times and days of the week courses are going to be offered. And again, they can do this through MyLSU, and they can go to Registration Services Schedule Booklet to look at that once it becomes available. All right, so when it is available, they can actually look at this. They have to pull up spring of 2022. They can actually pull up the department of the course they're interested in. So if they want to take English, they would do the drop down menu and pull up English, and then they click the button Display Courses. This will show all the courses that LSU will be offering for the spring semester, what time, what day of the week, and then even if a course is online or not, or 100% web-based. It'll show also some really interesting things in terms of the availability, how many hours the course is worth, and also if there's special topics with it. So just know it's really neat to look at so students can really select their classes. Also where it's located, because that's important sometimes, the classes are, across campus, or if they're here in the quad, that might be important as they're selecting their times and day of the week. So that's where they can find this information. Also, if an instructor is noted, it'll have that listed there as well. One of the things that's important to know too when looking at course offerings is there's a lot of things noted there that are important for students to look at. Some of the will mention service learning, so they need to know if they want to do a service learning course or if it's communication intensive. Some courses they won't have access to if they're in residential college. If they're specific to agriculture, for example, and they're pursuing engineering, they're not eligible for those. And again, those courses are going to be built by someone in that college if a student is in a residential college. So students don't typically have access to those, even if they are in a residential college. But oftentimes we'll hear from students who weren't able to add a class, and a lot of times we'll find that it's probably because they weren't eligible to add it based on that designation. Some courses are for majors only, so it might be for sociology majors only, and someone is a psychology major. So just know that there's a lot of little tips out there on the course offering screen that they need to be mindful of when selecting their courses. So these are just some examples. If a student actually has a notation section involves communication intensive learning, it's for the course right above it. So anytime there's the asterisk, it's related to the course right above it. And so that's how they can look at that. If a class is worldwide web delivery, we have fewer of those than we used to. Most of our classes are going to be offered in person, but we will still continue to always have web-based courses if that's of interest to a student to have one of those on their schedule each semester. My son actually likes that a lot, so he tends to vie for one of those if he can with his other full load. All right, so what courses should a student schedule? So here's some things to look at. Really, students need to really look at, do I already have credit in a course? They need to look at their CATs, those critical requirements, and make sure that they add those courses first. It's very important. They do want to follow the recommended path. So if they're using their flow chart, if they're using the catalog to determine, their courses, they'll look at semester 2. If there's anything else from semester 1 they need to take that wasn't taken yet, and just follow that plan. Write down the courses they want to take. And then they can start looking at different sections they might want to take. Now, most freshmen, students that are freshmen, sophomore, students build their schedule based on the amount of hours they have. Even college credit they earned out of high school will satisfy the amount of hours that they have, plus what they're enrolled in this semester. So that's how scheduling priorities are actually determined. Most freshmen will schedule unless they have certain criteria like honors college perhaps, or a student who might receive accommodations, things like that. But most of students, I think, in the Center for Freshman Year or Ag, Art Design MBA, who might be they're in their first semester, will be scheduling actually the week of November. I apologize, I'm looking at my calendar. It'll be the week of November 8th through the 12th for the most part. But scheduling parties have been set. Students were notified over the weekend, in my understanding, that what their scheduling date is. So they can already look that up. All right, so some scheduling checklists for students to think about. It's all the things we just mentioned. It's, knowing where to find their plans, looking at the degree audit that's available on MyLSU, the course list, which is in the catalog, the degree audit, how to actually access the schedule booklet, which again will become available on the 11th, in my understanding. And then they just do the other parts. They start looking at what they need to take based on their semester 2 planning guide. So they need to, again, keep those CATS requirements in mind, those critical courses, any major specific courses that might be helpful, or gen ed courses. They have to determine too whether or not something's only offered in the fall or the spring. And they would want to take any spring only classes this spring because they won't be offered again potentially till next year. Be mindful of prerequisites, or if a student's minoring courses, or if they do a double major. It's not real common for an incoming freshman or student in the first semester to have a double major declared, but I know that some students are interested in considering that, so factoring all of those in might be really important. Okay, let's look at how to actually access scheduling. So when a student's registration priority opens, it's going to be at 5 p.m. And based on, again, the amount of hours they have credit in and what they're enrolled in. So they'll add that total together, and that determines when they schedule. Everyone's priority opens at 5 p.m. the night their priority becomes available. So students already want to have a general idea, really good idea what classes they're wanting to take, because they don't want to be determining that while they're scheduling, because courses can fill up quickly while other students are scheduling. But what they'll do when it's time for their priority at 5 p.m., they'll actually go into MyLSU Registration Services Schedule Request. They'll pull up spring of 2022 and do the schedule request. What I would recommend is they're going to enter one class at a time. They're going to do English if they need English 1001. Most are probably in that or have credit, but they're going to actually add that class, and they'll hit the question mark to select the section they want if that's available, and then they'll add the course. They need to add one course at a time. That is the best way to do it while other students are scheduling, because the seats can be taken rather quickly while other students are still, building their schedule at that same time. Okay, so students will actually pull up the information. They'll do spring of 2022. They'll put the course information in here, which matches the resources that they've looked at, the degree audit or the catalog or the flow chart or the 8-semester plan, depending on what they're using. And once they enter that information and they click the question mark to see what the section availability is, they'll click add course. Once they know the section they want, they click on the section they want, add course. So that'll actually tell them if they've made it into the class or not. It'll immediately add it, or it'll tell them it's full. So it's not a hard process. It's just students need to be able to go do that. So again, this is what it looks like if they want to check what sections are available, and it'll list the availability. It lists the section, and the section determines what time and day of the week the course is offered. So if a student did want section 4, for example, they click on the 4, it'll populate up here, and then they click add course. Once they move into the course, of course, it'll be added to their schedule. Students actually have the availability to waitlist a course up to 3 at a time. So if a student's course that they really want is full and there's no other sections available, they can certainly look into waitlisting a class. They attempt to add the course like they would in a class that has openings, and then it'll give them the option to actually waitlist the course or to waitlist drop the course. Both would put the student on this electronic waitlist that just kind of keeps them in order. As students drop courses or change their schedule, students move up on the list. When they become number 1 on the wait list, they can move into the course if another person drops. Students get notified if they move off the wait list through email that they've moved into the course. If a student is in a class, maybe they have a full schedule and there's still a class they really want to take, but it's full, they can do this waitlist drop feature if the course that they are waitlisting is at the same time of a course that they are already in. And so it would give the computer permission to actually drop the course they're in because it's at the same time to add the waitlisted course if they move in from the waitlist. Just because a student's on a wait list, unfortunately, doesn't guarantee that they'll move into the course, but it really is a great option for students. A student can't be enrolled in the course and also waitlist a different section. It can only be used for a course that a student's not enrolled in. All right, but I usually recommend for students, if there's openings in another section, to go ahead and get the, add to that section. I know sometimes there's preferences in terms of time or day of the week or even professor. There's no guarantee a student will move off the wait list. So it's a great option, but there's no guarantee, like I said. Students on a wait list also, it won't consider them full time. So if they're only in 9 hours, for example, and they're on the wait list for a course, they're not a full-time student until they're actually enrolled in 12 hours. So keep that in mind. So really, I just kind of detailed that here. You can only join one wait list per course. You can't be in a course and also on a wait list. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to put students in full courses as academic counselors on campus or advisors. So just know that a wait list can be a really great option, but it doesn't guarantee a spot. All right. So if a student has a hold, students are being notified of those. So before they schedule classes, if a student does have a hold, they should have received some sort of notification so they can get that hold resolved before their scheduling priority opens. So one thing would be the CATS hold, which again are these critical requirements. If a student doesn't have that, they were notified on Monday. Incomplete documents, that's if maybe the AP/IB CLEP work from the College Board hasn't been submitted yet, or the final information hasn't been submitted, so they might need to make that request. My student body is required of all incoming students, and they've been notified this. It started over this summer, and they've been notified again this fall of the different modules they have to complete to get that hold resolved. So lots of different things that students need to do. We've already reached out to the students that have selective service registration. That's normally when they apply to LSU, they have to indicate that, but we've reached out to students who have already who need to still do that before they schedule. And then immunization records, that actually just applies to the normal immunization information. So if anybody still has that outstanding, they'll need to get those resolved before they actually schedule classes for the spring. Okay, couple of things. Some of the resources, almost done, some of the resources that'll be really, really helpful to students, quite honestly, even if they're an ag, art, design, or MBA, we're going to have a lot of resources on our website. Things on how to access degree audit with some recordings, general catalog, the schedule booklet information, scheduling priorities, and how to actually schedule DMI-LSU. We'll have a recording there so students can access that very easily. So just know that this is available for students as they prepare to schedule for the spring. And again, those priorities are going to start opening up in a few weeks, and students have already been informed of their priority date. And they have access to that now. Couple of things, if you want to share this information with your student, we would love to have them join us. We're actually partnering with the Elaine Career Center to actually, for any students who are considering either they're undecided, they're not sure what major option to go with, or maybe they're in a major and like, I just don't know if this is the route I want to go. We invite them to join us at one of these workshops, which will be next week. We're going to offer an in-person one on Tuesday, and then we have some Zoom options on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So this information, we invite them to join us, and it's information that's out there for them to come and see us through that. The other thing we're offering here in the Center for Freshman Year is we're doing college-specific advising workshops. So our individual appointments, we may not have enough for every student that needs assistance the day their priority opens, or even the week their priority opens. So what we want to do is encourage students to join us at our college advising workshops. We have them specific to every major. If someone's undecided, they can attend any of these programs that they're interested in with a major they're leaning towards. And if they're College of Coast and the Environment, they can actually contact Tiffany Treelord directly. She's going to assist them. Students who are in agriculture, art design, or music and dramatic arts, they will actually work directly with their academic advisor or faculty advisor in the college they're enrolled in. So this information will be going out to students. We hope they'll join us at them because I think it's going to be a really great way to share a lot of information with them just in time for scheduling. The other thing I wanted to mention is midterm grades are actually going to be posted on Tuesday, October 19th. So that'll be information that'll be coming out to students very soon. Scheduling we talked about is coming up. And then the last day to drop a class, or if a student actually needs to drop all of their classes, we can work with them, or the college they're enrolled in can work with their advisor there. The last day to do that for this semester is November 5th by 4:30. So students who do need to drop a class can contact our office. It's necessary. They can't drop those courses on their own. Dropping isn't always the answer. So we always want to make sure we meet with students because there's tons of resources that are available to students to aid in their success. So have them reach out to us if they're in UCFY or the Center for Freshman Year. All right, so I went through a lot of slides there. I'm going to turn things over back to Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Andrea. We've got tons of great questions. I appreciate everybody asking those. You can keep those coming in the Q&A. Andrea is about to hop in the Q&A and start answering those. And also we're going to do Q&A live, answer your questions live at the end of our session after we do our panel. But thank you again, Andrea, for all of the helpful information. We are going to jump right into our panel with some current students to share little tips, tricks, and just information and advice from their experience going through the scheduling process. And that panel will be led by our moderator, Carly Bordelon, our graduate assistant for the Office of Parent and Family Programs.
Hi, everybody. So we're joined tonight by some current LSU students that are going to share some awesome tips about scheduling. So we'll go ahead and meet them. To start off, we have Emily Sigman. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Emily.
Yeah, my name is Emily Sigman. I'm a current junior here at LSU, majoring in biochemistry. I am from Walker, Louisiana, and a couple things I'm involved in. I'm an LSU ambassador. I am a current RA at LSU, and I am also involved in LSU's Pre-Dental Society.
Great, thanks, Emily. And next we have Aiden Bowers.
Hey, y'all, my name's Aiden. I'm actually a sophomore at LSU. I'm also an RA and LSU ambassador. My major is criminology. I'm from California, so shout out to the people that are from California. And I'm also in a sorority, and I'm also looking to start my own club on campus. So just a little bit about me.
Awesome, thanks, Aiden. Next we have Annie Libitz.
Hi, I'm Annie. I'm a junior. I am an environmental engineering major with hoping to minor in dance. I'm also involved in LSU ambassadors. I'm also involved in dance ambassadors and Society for Women Engineers. And I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, so I'm out of state.
Yes, represent. And then lastly, we have Bridget Miller.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I'm a senior studying psychology and minoring in sociology. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana, and a couple other things I'm involved with are I'm also an LSU ambassador, involved with Dance Marathon at LSU and Greek Life, and also Chi Alpha Campus Ministries.
Thanks, Bridget. We're going to jump right into it with our first question. So we're going to start this one off with Aiden. So what tips do you have for students to set themselves up for success and stay on track with their major?
So I'm a sophomore. I remember like going into this, like scheduling, just like what is going on. Just always look at your degree audit, get familiar with it is like my number one thing. Like it looks so intimidating, but now I'm like, it's not that intimidating. Just go into chunks. So always factor with your degree audit, always look at that. For me, a lot of like my intro, like freshman classes, they left time to like ask questions or even ask your professors. Like I did an intro to sociology class my freshman year, and I asked him like, what classes should I take in this? Because for like the CATs and like all those like sociology courses I have to do, like, he's like, take this one first and it'll make your life a million times easier. So definitely talk to your professors about that. Look, just practice with the degree audit, y'all. It looks intimidating. It's not that bad.
Thanks, Aiden. And next we have Annie. So what tips do you have for students to set themselves up for success and stay on track with their major?
So kind of bouncing off of what Aiden was talking about, especially now that I'm in more major specific classes, it's really helpful to stay in touch with your professors because they're always kind of circulating. You kind of revisit them when you're in major classes. But when I was still in more of my freshman level classes and still taking some of those CATS classes, it was really helpful to stay on top of my degree audit and my flow chart. Because I'm in engineering, I do have a flow chart and it is extremely, extremely helpful. And that just kind of made sure that I had all of my prereqs done before. So I think that was probably the most important, was making sure I was getting my prereqs done so I could move forward, because a few people I know have had problems with not taking a certain class so they couldn't move forward. So just making sure that you understand what the prerequisites are and keeping those in line. And then if you are in engineering, you will have a flow chart, which is super easy to follow.
Great. We love the engineering flow chart. Y'all comment if you have Tigers that are in the engineering program. Okay, the next one is going to be starting with Bridget. So how has an academic counselor, which sometimes are referred to as an advisor for our families joining us, how has your academic counselor helped you?
Yeah, so pretty much anytime I would go talk to my academic advisor would be anytime I need to make any extreme major changes, whether I was changing my major or just needed to make just some adjustments to what classes I was taking. I actually changed my major my sophomore year. So meeting with my advisor then was very helpful in just making sure that was the right decision for me. And then also just going over my new degree audit, seeing what classes from my previous major rolled over into my current one, so you don't really have to start from scratch, which is definitely a relief to find out, and just kind of seeing where I am in my new major. I've also talked to my advisor once I changed to my major, I changed also my career path, and I thought maybe I'd have to change my major again. And so I was stressed. It was my junior year. I'm I have 1 year left. Really don't want to start all over again. But sitting down and talking to my advisor, they really made it clear and just helped me. I actually didn't have to change my major, just had to take a few other electives that would also help me prepare for my career choice. So definitely talking to your advisors is very helpful if you have any big decisions to make and you're not quite sure exactly what the right choice for you is.
Thank you, Bridget. And Emily, how about you? How has an academic counselor helped you at LSU?
Yeah, so one thing I did my freshman year was added a minor onto my workload. So my academic advisor helped with just getting that added and making sure I understood the amount of hours I'm about to be adding to my schedule and just different things along that sort. And also something that kind of stood out to me with advising was I plan to go to dental school. So helping understand my future path along those lines of what I'm needing to be preparing for now and how I'm incorporating all of that into my current studies and just understanding how my audit is helping meet those prerequisites for professional school as well. So.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Emily. And then also Aiden, how has academic counselors helped you?
For me, so my freshman year as well, I declared a minor. My minor was African American Studies. So they actually helped me with that. They also, I know that I love my major, and I know it's not for everyone, but tunnel vision when I got here with my major, I took a couple of my classes and I was yes. So I actually made my full 4-year plan, which life doesn't go as planned, but it's definitely a good basis to have. And then it's I don't need to constantly be in their office, constantly asking them little questions. And I'm oh, I have this major thing. I can go off this, my degree audit. So that was usually major things that they helped me with declaring minors, and they also helped me make my 4-year plan.
Yes, you can never be too prepared. You can always pivot those 4-year plans. That's awesome. So next we're going to go to Emily again. So what resources are most helpful as you plan your schedule?
Yeah, so going back to everything everybody said, your flow chart or catalog is very, very important in understanding that. So you can know like exactly what classes are coming up, what I'm supposed to be taking this semester so I can be successful next semester, because you have those prerequisite classes that you have to take other classes in the future. And that's where I'm currently kind of running into some stumbles with, I should have taken that last semester so I can take this semester. So making sure you're understanding those courses that you need to take and which semesters you need to take them in. And then also just like exploring the schedule booklet. So like after you know the classes you have to take, like what section do I want to take, with what professor, at what location, at what time. So like I've definitely learned through my semesters that I definitely work better with morning classes. So like I would prefer to schedule classes in the morning. So maybe looking into section times that are more towards the morning. And all of that is in the schedule booklet. And also with professors, like maybe you want to look up what a professor, like what he's done within the departments. Like you can just look up professor name and LSU and then see like he is dedicated to this type of research, and maybe I'm interested in that type of research. And so possibly like being in this class might help me get into like the research terms of things. So like different things like that. And also location. So planning out times going to and from class. Is this going to work going from the quad all the way to the business building? Just different things like that. So like after you have all of your classes and stuff, like planning it all out, maybe in an Excel doc or like a schedule app or something, and making sure like those section times work with each other and those locations work with each other, and just making sure like that schedule really works for you. And then also like some little like things like knowing different requirements. So like I'm also in the honors college, so I have to take 2 honors courses every year. So like making sure I'm scheduling my honors courses as well. So
Great, Emily, thank you. And then also Aiden, what resources are most helpful for you when you do your scheduling?
I would definitely say professors, because they just know. They know like when students struggle in a class. I know I had to take stats, and I looked at my professor when he told me that, and I was like, no, I'm a sociology major. And he's like, to do it as early as possible to get out the way. And it is so like, now that I'm taking more sociology classes, so much easier. I understand the material so much better. So like they know like what they want to see in the class. So like professors, like number one, like I just love like the professors just know. Also like almost all the student organizations that I've joined, LSU Ambassadors, my sorority, they have honestly helped me a lot with like learning how to schedule and learning how to like do the degree audit and how to look at it. And because it can be intimidating when you declare that minor and like it just goes everywhere and you're like, oh my gosh. So definitely. And then also use your peers, because your peers could be in different organizations that are giving out different information. So just use your peers, your professors, just use the resources around you. It's really not that stressful. It's not that stressful, y'all. It looks like it, but it's not. So just like utilize everyone around you.
Yes, just have to prepare early and get ahead of it. Okay, the next one, we're going to start with Annie. So what tips do you have for students for the actual scheduling process?
The actual scheduling process can be stressful if you don't go into it kind of prepared. A lot of times people are like, you have to be on time online at 5 o'clock or else you're not going to get to classes. And that is so intimidating and not true. Don't freak out. So some basic tips. I always get on at exactly 5 o'clock, but sometimes, and historically I've been able to get on 5:01. Sometimes it takes me till 5:15 because there's just so many people logging on, and you just can't let yourself panic. It is completely normal. Every student has gone through it. There is no need to stress out if it says the website's overloaded. That just happens. I also, I know we talked about the schedule booklet a little bit ago. I go into the schedule booklet and I write out all of my classes kind of in like, I write a little schedule thing. I pulled it out. I write it out like that. Just so I like can kind of get an idea of what my day would look like. But then also with that, I write down alternatives in case some of the classes are full, because that's happened to me. So I always kind of go in having like 2 or 3 schedules in mind and then go from there. but definitely try not to freak out if the website's overloaded, because it just happens. A lot of people are scheduling. And then also I go in as prepared as I can be. And usually I do get a professor to like look over my schedule to see if they think I can handle it. I have to get it checked off anyways because of my major. So going in as prepared as possible and just not freaking out when you see the website's full is definitely the biggest tips that I've learned from scheduling for 3 years now. So.
Yes, and all the students are in the same boat too. So it's not just you that it's happening to. Okay, Bridget, what about you? What tips do you have for students for the actual scheduling process?
Yeah, I was actually really excited to talk about this question because as intimidating and scary as scheduling is, it's one of my favorite things to do and one of my favorite things to help other students do. But the biggest advice I can give was basically everything Annie said is being prepared. I also like to make my schedule ahead of time. I'm using all the resources that Ms. Andrea showed during her presentation, like your degree audit, the general catalog, all the course offerings, and just making what you want your ideal schedule to be, but then also, like Annie said, having those backup schedules in case maybe the classes you want get fooled by the people that scheduled prior to you. So just having a backup plan so you don't get on and you're stuck and don't know what to schedule. Also just having other like classes you would want to take. And also when you're on the platform actually scheduling, it's a good idea to submit one class at a time because you have so many students on there trying to schedule at the same time. So it's like almost 98% that your computer or your website's probably going to crash before you get to submit your whole schedule. So definitely submit one class at a time if you want to get into the ones you want to schedule. Also scheduling a good mix of your critical requirement classes and your core classes, and then also electives just to kind of balance yourself out so you're not like super stressed and overloaded with these really tough classes throughout your semester. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridget. Great advice. Does any of our panelists have any other advice related to scheduling, degree audits, the general catalog, 8 semester plans? Any last little bits of wisdom that y'all have for our families joining us?
I do. I didn't know this until like sophomore year, but become a note taker because that gives you, if you're not in the honors college gets priority scheduling. And freshmen it goes seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen for priority. If you become a note taker, you get priority scheduling. And I think it's very simple because you're going to take notes in the class anyways. And I just share like a Google Doc, super simple. They always have access to it. And the way you can like find that out is you can either email the professor, but usually the professor announces, hey, I need a note taker for this class. And then you would just communicate with the professor on that. So it's super simple and it gets you priority scheduling. It's awesome, y'all. It's awesome. So just take advantage of that. That's all.
Very cool. Anybody else have any tips?
I know Bridget started talking about like taking classes that balance out like those core classes as well. And like, I think that's so important with like, especially those gen eds to like make those things that you enjoy doing. And so like, you know, your day is not like, my day would not completely be science. I have like a little like fun honors class thrown in there, or a fun like kinesiology where I go play tennis. There's a tennis class, like just different things like that, things that you enjoy. So like your day isn't dreadful all the time. I think is super important when you're scheduling.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, if not, we're going to go ahead and move on. So thank you so much to all of our panelists for sharing your experiences with us and some useful tips for spring scheduling. But now we'd like to hear from you, all of our families joining us tonight. So as a reminder, please just submit your questions using the question and answer feature if you're on Zoom, or just do it in the comment section on Facebook. If you want to hear from someone specifically, just please include their name with your question. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions coming through. Okay, I know we got one earlier, but I'm not sure if it was answered. But someone asked, is the required C for the CATs like a C or a C minus? So if if Miss Andrea is able to answer that, or one of our panelists.
Yes, yes, yes. will satisfy that. And I know that many of you have questions about the registration priority. It was set over the weekend. It sounds like an email wasn't sent. I wanted to ask one of the students, when you guys look for your scheduling priority, where do you find that on MyLSU? We don't have the same access of MyLSU as the students do. So if one of you could share that with us, that would be great. That way students can go in and look at that.
For like your time to schedule, you'll get an email first. Personally, I haven't gotten an email yet for scheduling. And but the way you can see that is you go into MyLSU and it's like scheduling, there's schedule booklet and then there's scheduling request. And then if you click on that, they won't allow you to actually like request your schedule until your time. And it will say like the date you're allowed to like actually be there at 5 p.m. So
I imagine those emails will go out very soon when the schedule
Yeah.
booklets become available. And since students can't look at course availability yet for spring, it's probably going to strategically be sent around that same time. But thank you for sharing that so much, Aiden.
And scheduling priorities will also be listed on the website. So let me just quickly share where it will go. So I am going to share my screen. I'm sorry, I don't have this pulled up. So you can go to lsu.edu/academic calendar. And then over here, you click on schedule booklets. Everybody can see the screen, right? And then it's going to pop up. So you'll see when they have it ready, spring 2022 would pop up. And so let's look at fall, for example. You can look at fall 2021. This is how students used it last semester when they were scheduling for fall classes. They clicked here, and then based on their hours, they knew what date they could schedule. So this same exact document will be uploaded. It sounds like October 11th to this website, and we'll send y'all that via email as well.
Awesome. And I think we had another question from one of our family members on Facebook. So the question is, if you're currently taking trig this semester and did not take the ALEX exam, can you enroll in calculus without taking the ALEX if you pass trig? So that might be a great question for you, Ms. Andrea.
I'm actually so glad that came up. So the guidelines for that are a little bit different going into our scheduling for spring. So it's such a fantastic question. Students are required, it's a fancy word, ALEX. And so that's the calculus readiness exam. So students are required to take that before enrolling in Math 1550, if that's required for their major. Of course, not everybody needs that. There's the honors version of 1551. There's also 1530 that requires it. So it depends. Through the advising process, students will know whether or not they need that course, but it is required to take that exam, earn the required score of a 76% to enroll in Math 1550. And that's typically going to be your engineering majors or science majors typically, who often will need that. Trigonometry, that's a great foundation for that. And when they take the ALEX exam, it'll help them on that to prepare for that test, but also just to be more ready for calculus in the spring. Great question. They can start preparing to take that now. Those scores typically will update overnight. So if a student schedules like in 3 days, for example, they would want to take it well in advance of that to allow ample time in case they have to retake it to achieve the required score. Great question. Thank you.
Awesome. And we had another one about, can you take a CATS class earlier than the recommended semester? So I might be throwing it right back to you.
Okay, I'll keep off. Yes, you absolutely can take it earlier than it is required. Absolutely. As long as the student meets the prerequisite for it.
Great. And we had another parent on Facebook asking about, do the students receive this video? So we will be sending out a recap email to all of our families on our email list. So feel free to share this with your student. Great resource for them to go and rewatch before scheduling to make sure that they're all caught up and getting ahead on planning for the spring semester. Okay, we have some in the Zoom. Someone asked, my student has never heard of the Center for Freshman Year. How can she learn more about this? I'm assuming that's a freshman student.
So students can, if they need more information from us, they can certainly join us for an appointment. If they have time to do that, they can set that up on the Navigate Student app, which is something they can download from their app store. It's free. And they can set up an appointment through that if they want to meet with us individually. Appointments are going to begin filling up as we get closer to that advising time period. So just keep in mind we have those college-specific advising workshops to assist students through the advising process as well.
Great. And another question about advising, do freshmen have to see an advisor to register for spring if they already know the classes that they want to take?
In most cases, they do not. Occasionally, a student will have a hold, and we talked about the various holds that might be there. But in most cases, students do not have to see an advisor to schedule.
Thank you. And another one from Melanie. Melanie's asking if the student does not have a declared major, talking to the advisors or professors is the best way to go about it and the workshops.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways students can gain information on the variety of majors we offer, career opportunities, but I would invite them to come to the major mining workshop that we have next week. That's going to be a great starting point. Again, it's collaboration we have with career services, and I think that might get them thinking about next steps. And so we're doing that early enough so they can start really doing some research, getting some decisions in mind about what major they might consider for the spring, as they prepare for their spring scheduling. So I think that's a great starting point to have them join us at that. And then from there, maybe doing some more research with career services or meeting with one of us individually, and we can look at different major options in terms of what that coursework would look like.
Perfect. And someone else is asking on Facebook, do students have assigned academic counselors or advisors?
So in the Center for Freshman Year, we assist all students. Students can meet with any counselor in our office, academic advisor in our office. We do have a pre-nursing advisor specific in our office, Jennifer Ramazan. And I saw somebody mention something about allied health, and his name is Anthony Oster. So in those two cases, we do have specific people set aside, but otherwise we're happy to assist students regardless of their major if they're enrolled in the Center for Freshman Year. It does vary by college. I think most colleges have, just a team of individuals to assist students.
Great, thank you so much. So y'all keep leaving your questions if anybody has anything on Facebook or Zoom. I think I see one in the chat about if a student was in pre-college math and English, will this count for college credit? Not entirely sure what the question is, so maybe you'll be able to direct that one.
Yeah, I think it actually depends. Maybe have them contact our office so we can look and see how that actually came in. It just depends on how it's awarded and what the major is. We'll just have to look at it individually.
Okay, and someone's asking for the scheduling workshop information. So we'll go ahead and link that in the chat with where you can find out about those workshops. So we'll be putting that in the chat in a second.
Yes, and we're going to be sending emails out to our students this week to save the date and then for them to register for it. But we wanted to start getting the information out through this medium, and then you can let your Tigers know about it so they can sign up.
Awesome. Okay, Angela's asking in the chat, do students have to wait until the 4th semester to take English 2000?
That's another great question. That has a prerequisite of 39 hours credit. So if a student will have 39 hours of credit when their grades post in December, they will be eligible to schedule English 2000 for the spring semester. Maybe as a second semester student, that would be an option, but typically that's taken in the 4th semester, and it's designed that way because they have topics assigned to some of the English 2000 sections, and they want students to be a little further in their major when taking that course.
Okay, and maybe one or two more. So it looks like we have one from Facebook. So how many choices will reasonably reasonably be available if the student doesn't register until November 10th?
This is very common for incoming, freshmen in their first semester to schedule at that time, and students have been able to schedule really, great classes for the spring. They don't always necessarily get every section that they might want or something like that, but they have an opportunity to build a really terrific schedule when their priorities open.
Great. So Valerie in our chat on Zoom asked for the CATS hold, once a student has a declared major updated in the system, will they be allowed to get a schedule appointment time?
Might just stay open. Okay. So with the CATS hold, if I understand you, will they be able to schedule when their priority opens? If I'm understanding your question, if a student has a CATS hold and they get it resolved, they can schedule on their designated priority. Yes. If your question is if they can meet with a counselor individually to resolve their CATS hold, it just depends on when a student sets up an appointment, if that's available. We sent out an email to all of our students on how to actually get that resolved, and they can actually do that through a module. It doesn't necessarily require an appointment for students in the Center for Freshman Year.
Thank you so much. And you're the expert. All the questions are coming to you. Our last one is going to be from Lori. So she asked about her daughter receives accommodations. So is the advisor in disability services also her academic advisor?
They do work with students in terms of providing accommodations and that type of thing, but oftentimes students will also want to meet with us so we can, do the advising component, make sure they're taking the scheduled classes for their intended major, but they will work hand in hand with their advisor in disability services to make sure they have everything they need in the courses they're being enrolled in for the spring, or the schedule that they're building for the spring.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists and to Ms. Andrea from UCFY. I'm going to turn it back over to Lindsay for some closing information.
Thank you so much, Carly. Thank you as well. I want to thank our panelists. Y'all are awesome. I'm going to share my screen again. And so I want to remind everyone that we are recording tonight's session. And so it will be posted on our website starting tomorrow. It will be also on YouTube. So we'll have closed captioning available via our YouTube recording. I'm going to share that on the website. And so y'all can see actually how to navigate our website. So when you go to lsu.edu/family, you click on communications and click on webinars, and you'll see our Tiger Family Talks webinar series. So you'll see right here, instead of the Zoom information, I'll have the recording posted for tonight's session. Also below, I want to point out some additional resources. So if you scroll down right here to tonight's topic, how can my Tiger prepare for spring course scheduling? You'll see some helpful information that we linked in the chat and that Andrea went over during her presentation. As we mentioned, we're also going to send you a follow-up email as a recap, and we highly encourage you to share that with your Tiger. The way that Andrea presented tonight's content, I think, is user-friendly and will really help your Tiger navigate this experience, in addition to also attending one of the workshops that UCFY is offering for. But definitely, this is a really helpful resource. We want to make sure your Tiger is prepared for that scheduling process to open. So the first scheduling date is going to open on October 24th. So that's the first that any student can schedule. And then based on the number of hours that they have, it'll go on down until, as Andrea mentioned, through November 12th. I know we got that question in the chat. So take a look at our website. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. Excuse me. Awesome. Okay, so our next webinar will be held on Tuesday, November 2nd. That will be our last Tiger Family Talks of the semester. We hope you can join us to talk about LSU Family Weekend. We would love for all of you to attend, register for Family Weekend, which will be held November 12th through the 14th, 2021. And so our next session will have lots of parents to help share their feedback about how to make the most of your family weekend experience and truly prepare to have the best time on campus. So we hope you can join us for that last session on November 2nd. As I mentioned, registration is open now for Family Weekend. So go ahead, if you haven't already, you can register. You can go to lsu.edu/Family Weekend. We'll put that in the chat. Registration is open until October 21st or when maximum capacity is reached. So don't wait and register today. All LSU families are invited to join us. We're going to have lots of fun activities November 12th through the 14th. And we'd love for you to spend some quality time with your tiger on campus, experiencing their new home away from home, get used to some LSU traditions, and just be exposed to the LSU community and our surrounding community in Baton Rouge. We also encourage you to join the Family Association if you haven't already. There are so many exciting benefits, and you'll really stay in the know about everything going on. You can go to our website, lsu.edu/join, for more information and to join. We have a short survey that we'd love for you to fill out for tonight's session so that we can get your feedback. We want to know what was helpful about this session and also how we can plan for our spring webinars. So you can take a moment. We have this QR code on the screen if you want to scan that, or you can follow the link directly in our chat. The survey should take you no more than 2 minutes and is extremely helpful for our office. The content that we share and the resources that we provide are really catered to you and what our families need to help support their tiger success. So we really appreciate any feedback that you share with us. Everybody should be grabbing that right now. And then finally, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office with any questions that you have. We are here for you. Email us. We want to continue to foster that connection and make sure that your tiger is feeling supported, that you're feeling supported. So email us. You can follow us on social media. If for some reason we did not get to your question tonight in the chat, I know they were rolling through quickly, or in the Q&A, or you want more information, please email us and we will definitely get you connected to the right resources and info. So with that, I'm going to thank our panelists one more time. Our students are rock stars. We appreciate them joining us. I also want to thank Andrea Jones from UCFY. She is incredible and such a wealth of information. I hope you really feel like your tiger is supported and the LSU community wants to see them succeed. I know they're going to do well with their course scheduling, provided that they look at all of these resources and tools and that they prepare ahead of time. Now is the time to start thinking about this. Even if they don't schedule until November 8th through the 12th, that weekend in November, it's still time to start doing this now so they can take a look and make sure they're on the right track for their spring courses. So thank y'all so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. We hope you have a wonderful evening. And of course, go Tigers. Thanks, y'all.